Welcome, everyone. It's Velvet on Silver, and I am excited to be part of the Summer Summit speaking series. My contribution today is going to be called the Egyptian Light Codes. And the reason that I am so passionate about sharing this information is because I was recently in Egypt. And what I have discovered is there's a lot of information coming forward that I want to share with you. So this is brand new information for me. I have wrote 2 books previously and done my own Oracle deck. But this information I'm writing a book on right now at this moment, and the book should be done in a couple months. So I want to thank you for taking the time to be here and for connecting with us and learning what all of the speakers have to share with all of us in this summer series, which I think is amazing because we can never get enough information. So a little bit about me. My name is Velvet on Silver, and I have been doing this work since 2009. I was guided to begin moving from a healthcare setting to starting my own business, which is called Ancient Aspirations Limited. And I found a really deep need to combine the Western and the Eastern medicine to truly dive into the chakra system and look at how they affect your meridians and your organs and your physical, spiritual, and emotional bodies. So that is my passion. I have a 4-level program called the Goddess Healing Matrix System. And what that does is I use the lens of the goddess to look within yourself, healing at the DNA level and really resetting that DNA blueprint, allowing you to spend 4 days in my certification courses to allow yourself to really make those deep, long-lasting changes connected to the divine feminine, as well as balancing your divine masculine. And then I wrote a book about unwinding the divine masculine, and I've done my own Oracle deck, which I'll be sharing some of the cards with you. So that's a little bit about me. I'm a mom of 3 grown daughters who are 26, 23, and 19. So I have a lot of different things on the go, but I love what I do and I love seeing change in people. So I'm going to just first talk about exactly what is a light code. And a light code is something that is a frequency that comes down from the higher dimensions, which allows you to move through the auric field into the DNA. And it actually gives you the downloads that you need to evolve and ascend and increasing the quantum field. So that's what a light code is. So we get the light codes from the sun, from the water, especially. We get fire codes, and then there's earth codes. So I've always known that when you travel around the world and you visit the sacred sites, that these sacred sites actually hold a frequency, a healing vessel. And when you take your physical body and you ground it in that meridian, that ley line around the planet, there is a connection that happens, when the soles of your feet connect with that point and with your intention, of course, you begin to receive this information up through your chakras, which connects to the DNA and allows you to elevate your consciousness and remembering who you are and why you're here on the planet, and just allowing that remembering to give you the wisdom to move forward in every aspect of your life, whatever aspect it is that you are doing, whatever career you have. Everyone can benefit from allowing these light codes to move through your body. They're just going to gift you with this ascension. And that's kind of what we're doing here on the planet, on Earth this time, is we're learning to bring light and learning to evolve as human beings in each and every way. So this is just the modality that I am using at this moment in time. So what I know is that the pyramids themselves and the temples are still standing. After all of these years, they're still standing, and they are here to actually remind us to remember the knowledge that has been forgotten through lifetimes and through programming. And now is the time to remember, our own power, to remember the wisdom, to remember, the modalities of medicine that we used to use back in that lifetime. It's to bring that forward and to remind us to look within ourselves. When you look at these structures, I was amazed at, the first structure that I ended up going to was the temple of Sekhmet. That was one of them, and it changed my life. So there are these men that are actually, they agree to be the guardians of the temples. And when I walked into this temple, there was a little tiny window in the temple. And there was this stream of light that was coming down into the room. There was no light, there's no electricity, but you could see this stream of light. And instantly I knew that this stream of light held the light codes, and that by holding my hand chakras and bathing them in the light, that I could feel the frequency going up my hands into my heart and my throat, and receiving the energy through this frequency. And all of us did this holding our hands. And it was the most beautiful thing I actually think I've ever experienced in my life up until this point. And the guardian of the temple came up, and he just nodded and smiled, and he said, yes. He said, that's exactly it. Take your time and connect to the frequency. So what I've been doing over the summer is I've been allowing those downloads to actually move through my meridians and my consciousness, and just allowing the remembering to take place. Now, what happens when these light codes are coming through is we have to let things go in order to hold a higher frequency, right? So I've been hearing many people saying most recently that their memories are bad. They've actually been forgetting things. And that's actually a really good thing, because we want to let go of things that are holding a denser vibration. And then allowing these light codes to come in is going to elevate your frequency, but it's going to give you a new perception and a new knowing, right? Your third eye is going through a huge transformation, which is going to allow you to see things from a different level, which is pretty powerful when you think about this. So when I was in the Temple of Sekhmet, there was this beautiful black, I think it was a tourmaline figurine of her, this beautiful statue. And I just got down on my knees and I put my hands at her feet, and I just bowed down to her energy very humbly, just very willing to invite her frequency through my body to receive, the codes that I needed to receive, from this sacred temple that many have walked before us, and just using that energy to move through my body. And the instant thing that I heard from Sekhmet is that it's time to come home. It's time for the daughters and the sons of Sekhmet to remember who you are, and to begin working with the light codes, but also with the fire codes. So working with all of the elements, the wind, the water, the earth, and the air, those elements are natural, connected to Mother Earth. And what they do, as we know, even in Chinese medicine, Western medicine doesn't use it as much, but those symbols and that energy is used to transmute energy within the body. And this is something that is really powerful. So when this activation actually took place within my body, and with many that were in the group that I was traveling with, I felt internal fire, internal heat within the core of my body and my chakras for many, many weeks. And what I was guided to remember is that using the internal visualization of the fire helps to burn away any of the old energies that we've been carrying from relationships, from emotions, from pain, just to really clear the physical and the emotional body from carrying those denser frequencies that maybe we haven't dealt with. And so the fire would get stronger, and it actually would keep me awake. And yes, no, it's not just menopause, which I do have, but this is something internal. And I began to remember working with the element of fire, in previous lifetimes in Egypt, especially, using that energy as a modality for transmutation. And that is something that I've continued to do in my own healing practice on my clients. Is now when I'm working on them, similar to the Reiki, that energy moves through the chakras and it clears them to the very core of the DNA, allowing anything that they're ready and willing to release to just sort of be burned away. So that is one aspect of the light codes, is just visualizing yourself even if it's summertime, right? So if you have a big bonfire going in the backyard, sit around the fire, write a letter of things you want to release, put that into the fire, but then, use those fire codes to help you release things that you're not even aware of consciously that you need to let go of. Because what happens is when we hang on to pain, and we all have it, we've all had trauma, we've all gone through painful things in our life. And what happens is when you hang on to that, it slows down your vibration internally, which slows it down into the organs, into the meridians. What I heard most recently is that we're staying in things when we know that they're done. So an example that I'm going to give you is, I'll use myself for an example, is that, I was in my marriage for 21 years and I knew that my contract in the marriage was over. I knew that it was finished, but there was a lot that was holding me back. So fear, for example, of where would I go? What would happen to my family unit? What would I do, in retirement? Because we had this whole life planned ahead of us. So I stayed in that relationship too long because I had all these fears that were coming up, even though I knew in my soul that this contract between he and I was done. So then what happened is I ended up having a heart attack and I ended up having pulmonary embolism. So 2 clots go through my heart. I survived the incident, but I knew in my soul that I had to leave the marriage because I was only staying because I was afraid. But my body was telling me that clearly I wasn't feeling joy and I wasn't getting the vibration that I needed from the relationship, even though I had done everything that I thought possible. I'd gone to counseling, we'd gone to marriage counseling. I'd done all of the things that I needed to do, but I still knew that it was over. So I've seen this in the work that I'm doing now, that people are staying in things, whether it's a job, whether it's, a toxic friendship or a toxic relationship, a marriage that is complete. When we stay in these contracts that are no longer serving our growth, then our physical body ends up suffering. And now I'm not in any way condoning or saying that divorce is the way to go, but sometimes we need to honor what is for our own growth. And the same with the jobs, right? If you're being guided to move on to a job that fulfills your purpose, you're going to be guided to do that. So in going back to the light codes, what I learned is when these contracts are up, it's because the light codes are trying to do their work. And when our ego is getting in the way and trying to stop us from, moving through fear, that's when the physical body is going to show symptoms. So that's why I share that story with many of you that are listening, because sometimes we don't want to move through things. But the truth is that when you move through fear, because you're always going to have it, there's going to be the greatest gift on the other side of the doorway. There always is. And I can say that personally. So let's get back to these light codes. So I'm going to show you, this is my card, Sekhmet. And here she is, and she's got the blue sodalite around her neck, which is really about supporting your voice, supporting what you need to share and who you are and your truth in raw authenticity. And here we have the sun and we have the lion image, right? Which is orange and red, which is connected to the root and the sacral chakra, as well as your solar plexus. So we're dealing with those lower 3 chakras. And, she's standing in front of the pyramid very strongly, Sekhmet. So what I want to share with you is that in order for those lower 3 chakras to be stabilized, which are the base, the root chakra is the base. It's your security, it's your stability, it's your home, it's your foundation. When that is rocked, it rocks all of the rest of the chakras, right? Because it's the base of the building blocks. So there's many things that can happen with that. You can have anxiety, be in fight or flight, going into the lack mode. All of these things come up when that root chakra, the stability, is pulled from underneath your comfort zone. The best way to learn to connect with that is to, ground yourself and begin nurturing the root chakra with the red crystals, eating red vegetables and fruits, and just visualizing roots growing from your feet into the earth and doing the affirmations. I am safe. I am secure. And just keep repeating that energy is going to help you stabilize the root chakra. So Sekhmet is really coming forward with those light codes and the sun codes, right? Because here we have the sun. So the sun codes that are coming through from, the god Ra are really helping to transmute and clear any old energy out of the auric field. Because what happens is when we're clearing the chakras, we don't clear the auric field. That old energy sits around your body and you're going to feel heavy, you're going to feel fatigued, you're going to feel hopeless. You're going to feel all those lower emotions because you need to clear yourself, right? So it's important to remember to have a bath with the Dead Sea salt. Go out in the sunshine, lay down on the earth, let Mother Earth's energy envelop you with her frequency to keep you grounded, and know that you don't have to do this alone, because you're not alone. And that's the biggest thing I learned in all of the things I've gone through, is that even though I was alone, I wasn't alone, right? We have the divine above and we have the earth below, as above, so below, right? And we are the vessel in between those two different frequencies. So it's important for us right now at this moment in time to be using these light codes. And I want to just put a little bracket in here that says you don't have to go to Egypt to access this. You can do it through meditation and the course that I'm developing. But you can do this on your own, right? So the reason we need to access these light codes right now is because it gives us the extra support that we need to truly make the transformation and the change that we need to use your voice. It's time now to share the wisdom that you know, to stand in your power, and to just really understand that growth is essential right now. And life is an inside job. So we need to move from the inside out. So that is the goddess Sekhmet. So you can use that crystal, which is sodalite, on your throat chakra. And you can just allow that to support your throat as you're moving through change. If fear is coming up for you, like I said, it's going to help just absorb those denser frequencies that maybe you're not speaking, right? Because you don't want to get a block in the throat chakra, which will lead to, headaches and, dysfunction in the arms, and much more, right? If we let it continue. So that is the goddess Sekhmet, and using the codes of the sun and the fire are essential and important to just allow them to move through your body. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about is, how do you let these light codes, how do they work, right? Don't get in your head and really think about too much how they work. What you really need to do is, when you're in meditation, intention is key. So you just want to ask, I want to activate the light codes from the temple of Sekhmet, bringing those codes through, and you'll receive them down through your crown, and they'll just weave their way through your chakras, and you'll feel a different frequency. You may feel heat, you may feel fire, and then stillness is the next thing that you need to do. So we can't integrate anything unless we are still, right? Being still, being quiet, as much as we can, allows the body to integrate and gives us the quiet energy to hear what our body needs, but also to allow the body to do its magic, to do its own healing work. And that's kind of something that we run into being human, is we always think that we need to be busy in order to be deemed worthy. But the truth is, being still is probably the most efficient thing you can do most of the time, being in nature, because it gives you the capacity for the greatest expansion. Being in stillness, you're going to hear a lot. You're going to begin to understand yourself, and you're going to know the guidance that you need. Okay. Now we're going to move on to my second favorite thing with the light codes. So if you read my book, Ancient Secrets of the Goddesses, here, this is the first book that I wrote back in 2012. It's the basis for my course, The Goddess Healing Matrix System. The first goddess that we ever connected with is Isis, and she's kind of my mainstay goddess. I call her the kick your butt goddess, because she does kick your butt. If you ever have a project that you're wanting to see it come to fruition, just invoke the energy of this goddess, because she will make sure that you move through your fears and you get the task done. So Isis is the temple of Philae. So when we went to this temple of Philae, we went into the holy room. And this is a room where there is an altar. It's a stone granite altar where Isis and the higher priestesses and the priests would come in, and they would do their intention, their invocation for what it is that they were needing at that moment in time. So with her codes coming through, with this temple of Isis, the temple of Philae, it's really about having you bring your life into balance, right? Because life is like a pendulum, just like you can see in the card here. The pendulum is never still, right? It's always moving from one side to the other. That's how we learn, that's how we grow. So there's times where we exert ourselves, whether it's through a crisis or big change in our life, and we overdo things, and then our body tells us to come back to center. So then we go to the opposite side of the pendulum where there's stillness. Because if we don't listen to our body, we end up getting sick. So our body needs to take a rest, right? So that is why it is important to really understand that sometimes we have exertion, sometimes we're receiving, but we want to meet in the middle, right? If you can. So when we connect to the temple of Philae, what we want to do is announce your intention to the world, and make sure that you feel safe to say to the universe, you know, this is what I want in my life. So many times we're afraid to actually share what it is that we need or want. And it could be connected to a past lifetime where you were killed for saying what you wanted, or it's self-worth. You know, sometimes we're afraid to say what we really need or want because we don't feel worthy of receiving, right? So that's really goes hand in hand, that you understand what it is that you need in life and that you feel worthy of saying what you need, because it's going to make you feel balance within your life, which will show up externally. Okay, so that is important. So back in Egypt, there was many medicines that many of us used for healing and for connecting and being in that space of allowing those codes to come through the temple of Isis. So when you look at her temple, I want you to Google it right now. So just go on and Google the Temple of Philae or the Temple of Isis, and you'll see that there's these beautiful hieroglyphs that are carved on the outside as well as the inside. And there's such power in this temple that was actually moved from the original space to this new space because it was flooding, right? And one of the things that is important with this temple is to sit and watch the sun rise, because the sun is the new dawn, right? And that energy and that frequency first thing in the morning has power in it. So for you to denounce what your intention is for the morning, it's a very powerful state. The veil is very thin in the morning, and the universe can hear us very clearly. And it's a very strong intention to do anything first thing in the morning, whether it's meditation, just sitting in silence. That's a very powerful time. And many of you are probably woken up early in the morning, not realizing that that is exactly why it's happening, is for you to sit, have gratitude, and really, connect to the codes from your heart, giving that intention to the world. It's a very important time. So we'll try and put that into your life if you can. Now, with the codes of Isis, in that temple, there's a birthing room, and it was actually only open 3 years ago to the public. And I was very lucky to be able to go into that room all by myself. And I probably spent 20 minutes in there alone. And in the birthing room, it's a place where you can support your intentions, your ideas, and your new beginnings of who you are. And seeing Isis as well as Osiris, with hieroglyphs into the temple was very powerful. And that's what I want to remind you, is that Isis actually put her husband back together, Osiris. She gathered all the parts of his body. I think there was 18 parts, and gathered them back together and ended up having a son together. So this is just a reminder of the power that we actually have to create what our soul actually needs. And we've kind of forgotten that we are that powerful. We've given our power away to be external. So using these light codes will activate that internal power, your internal voice, your intuition with your third eye, your divine connection with the crown, your sacral chakra, and your root. And that is the benefit of using these light codes. And like I said, it's easy to do. Your intention can just be, I'm going to connect in meditation with the Temple of Philae. I'm going to bring those light codes, whatever my body needs, through during meditation. End of story. It's that easy. And then you'll just allow yourself to work through and journal and channel what you're getting, because it's going to give you the medicine that you need for that inner expansion. Now, Isis's crystal is the blue lapis lazuli. And you can see this here in the background. It's kind of hard with a light. But the lapis lazuli is actually a magical stone which has pyrite in it, which is the gold flex. It's a very regal crystal. And this crystal actually helps with being authentic. It helps with using your voice and your divine connection and just awakening your intuition to a deeper level. So you can use the lapis lazuli on your third eye during meditation or on your crown, or you can hold it in your hands. And that will also help bring in those light codes from the Temple of Philae, which is the temple of Isis in Egypt. And Isis was kind of like the queen mother. She sort of, would perform the rituals and the ceremonies for the higher priestesses and the priests, and they trained underneath her. So her energy is very strong. And that's why I say to you, if there's a project in your life that you need to finish, you want to work with that light code or that energy to help move that project from the beginning to the very end, okay, to ground yourself through to that. Now, I want to go over one more temple here, one more light code. So the other one is the Temple of Dendara, which is also called the Temple of Hathor. So here is her card here. So she is the Egyptian goddess who is really about learning to receive. It's about learning to open yourself up, to know that you are worthy of actually letting yourself be in that divine feminine aspect, because we all have a feminine and a masculine energy within us. That's what allows us to co-create within. So we want to find that balance of those two frequencies, right? The feminine energy is very receiving and the masculine energy is very giving. And when we can bring those into balance, then we can truly co-create from a very harmonic state, right? And then the fear will dissipate when we come into that state of neutrality. So Hathor's crystal is the red rock. So actually in this image is Kachina woman from Boynton Canyon in Sedona. And working with Hathor really allows you to be in that energy of creation, because there's so many times we can't just force action to take place. We actually need to sit in stillness and be able to receive these light codes, allow them to move through in our time of stillness. Then we can move into action. So that is just something that's really important with Hathor, right? Is to allow yourself to be in that space of being still. Now, the other thing that I want to cover here is this is the symbol of the Ankh. And this is a crystal ankh that I took actually to every sacred site in Egypt. And it's clear quartz, which means I programmed it at every site to receive the energy of light that would be of my highest good, so that I can use this on my body during meditation and just to hold space on my altar for my creation and for my writing. So when you look at the ankh, there's the eye at the top, and then there is the masculine part, which is the cross at the bottom. So the eye is sort of the receiving part. We can visualize that we're going to receive energy through the eye of the Ankh. The Ankh actually means the breath of life, the key of life. And this symbol actually was used in Egypt many, many times. I actually wear an Ankh all of the time. It's a symbol of protection. But many of you that are probably guided to Egypt may know about this symbol already. You may be drawn to it. It's not a cross, it's an Ankh. That's what it's called. So what you can do is any energy that you want to bring through, you can visualize that you're bringing it through the eye of the Ankh, and you can visualize it through each chakra. And then you can ground it through the bottom, which represents your feet, into the earth. Okay, so this is a really important symbol to get to know. You can buy Ankhs in many different places. You can use them on your body. So you could use it on your heart chakra. to receive the light codes through the eye into the heart or into the throat or into your third eye. Just something really powerful. So the loop is your receiving end, and then the cross is your masculine, your grounding end. Okay. You can buy these onks pretty much anywhere. This is a clear quartz. Any crystal store will have them, or you can Google and find them online. So the onk is just a symbol that will help the light codes be grounded within your body, and it acts as another layer or another tool to allow yourself to be in that space of connecting and understanding. I always use crystals and affirmations as a layer to when I'm integrating energies into my body. So those are the three things that I really wanted to share with you briefly during our time together. So Sekhmet, like I said, the Temple of Sekhmet is really about strength and grace, but it's about the sun codes, right? It's about the fire codes, using those in your body for transmutation and allowing yourself to evolve. And then we have Isis, right? She is about balance. She's the queen. And she really is the mother, right? She helps you, she nurtures you in a very stern, loving way to get your projects finished. So her codes can be accessed through the earth, through the water, because her temple is actually surrounded by water. So when we're in water, we want to think positive things because the water amplifies our thoughts, good or bad, right? So it's always important to remember to think positive things. Usually when you're in water, it can also help you release if that's your intention. But you don't want to be on water and be angry because it sort of will amplify that energy around you. So that is Isis, and her crystal is lapis lazuli, and then the third goddess is Hathor. So she works with the light codes of the air, with the ether, right? But also with the earth, connecting with Kachina woman, and grounding those energies. The other one I briefly want to mention before I wrap up here is the Great Sphinx. So when I walked up to the Great Sphinx, there's the left paw and the right paw. And beneath each paw, there's an Akashic record bank underneath those stones, deep underneath. There's a vault there. So under the left paw, you can access the divine feminine, and under the right paw, you can access the divine masculine. And as you go to the neutral point, the Great Sphinx actually carries a frequency to allow you to remember your Akashic records to a deeper level. And just to remember the Egyptian medicine that you may need to bring forward into this lifetime. And that is why, like when I looked at the Great Sphinx, it was pristine. It was very awe-inspiring. It was probably the greatest thing that I ever saw, as well as the Pyramid of Giza. So it's still standing there, but it's a reminder through your meditation, connect to the light codes that are stored within the Great Sphinx, just to open your heart chakra and bring that frequency down through and allow your soul to receive and ignite what it needs from the Akashic records, just that are pertain to you under the Great Sphinx. So Egypt is a magical place. If you are guided to go, it is safe to go. I would go with a group. I would go with a guide who knows exactly what they're doing. But just allow yourself, if you're guided to go, chances are there's a reason. It'll change your life from this point forward. It will give you the medicine that you need and those light codes to expand from the inside out. So I'm going to leave you with this information. If you have any more questions or you want to get in touch with me, you can go to www.velvedawn.com. I do one-on-one sessions, I do courses, I do retreats, and I'm actually going to Thailand on November 27th, and I have a couple spots left. If you get in touch with me ASAP, I am taking people that are open to a spiritual based tour. So truly just remember, life is an inside job and that you are your own master. It's a blank canvas and it's up to you to create the life that you want, and you have the power deep inside of you. So thank you for spending your time connecting with me. And I look forward to connecting with you at some point down the road. Thank you.